All right. Well, I've been in the Adirondacks 3 days now. The first day I did a shorter hike to Goose Pond in the Pharaoh Lake Wilderness. Yesterday I opted for a waterfall hike because of the weather forecast being questionable. I was able to complete that hike without incident, but there was heavy rain after that and thunderstorms. Well, now we've got a good weather day to do a longer day hike, probably about 10 miles in the Pharaoh Lakes Wilderness. I'll get the map out in a few minutes and we'll look at the places I'd like to find today and hike to. And see what there is to see, including going up Treadway Mountain. I think it's going to clear out enough. Right now it's in the clouds, but I think it's going to clear out enough for us to do that. But we've got a few hours to explore some of the natural lakes and ponds on the way over there. The shortest way there to the trail to Treadway Mountain is like 1.8 miles, and then the trail up it starts. I'm going to take a longer roundabout way to see some of these lakes. And there's a lot of cliffs back here, and then start up Treadway Mountain in a few hours here. Hopefully by then the ceiling clouds have lifted and we can get a view. We'll see what comes our way. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to hike. Even if you don't go up the mountain, there's so much to see. And here, I don't think that loon is going to come in too well, but there's loons all over this area, and I've been hearing them for 3 days now. And the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation asks that you sign in for your hikes, partly for your own safety, because if you don't sign out, they know at least where you started your hike, and partly so they can allocate resources where needed most. They know how many people are using each trail. So I have a map, but I'm going to use their map instead to show my course for the day, my planned course. We are at the campground at Putnam Pond right now. The trail starts right behind the campground here. And my plan is to take the yellow trail past Hart Pond, around the north end of Putnam Pond over to Rock Pond. I've done the east side of Rock Pond once, about 12 years ago. I'm going to go up around this side instead. There's supposed to be a graphite mine up there, what's left of it. And that's a red blaze trail. The yellow blaze trail continues around Clear Pond. There's a red and blue there as well. And my goal is to go that far and then go right up Treadway Mountain, which is like 2.1 miles from this junction right here. Now the shorter way is to come this way, so I'll go back that way probably, but I'm trying to eat up a little time today, get in some more miles, wait for the Treadway Mountain to come out of the clouds if it will, and see more along the way, and then take the shorter way back around the south end of Putnam Pond here, which is down here. Well, from the yellow blaze trail we've been following, you get glimpses of Hart Pond, but there's a pretty obvious path that isn't blazed that goes right to the south end of it. Let's check out the view over here. Bedrock ledge right up to the side of this. A lot of these ponds back here are not glacial kettle holes, but just places that the bedrock surrounds it, and the movement of the ice scoured out softer bedrock and left you a nice depression. So I think we can get all the way down to the bottom of this ledge and take another look. Those little red F's are pretty common after heavy rain last night. Amphibians need to keep their skin moist. So they're here all the time. You don't see them all the time, especially if it's been dry for a few weeks. They're down in the leaf litter staying moist. But they take advantage of the moist conditions all summer long, really. You start seeing them in June. Here's a really small one. Right there. He's pretty small for a red F. He's pretty young. We're right near the water here, so he may have been a tadpole earlier this year and became the eft, the terrestrial form. And then eventually they go back to the lake and become adults that are gray in color, kind of an olive green gray color with the same red spots, but the skin is no longer red. So interesting life cycle on those guys. They can get away with not blending in because nothing will eat them because they're poisonous, they're toxic. So being red makes it easier for me not to step on them. Since there's so many after it rains, I can usually see them. If they were blending in like a lot of salamanders do, it would work against them in this situation. So yes, here we go. We're getting down towards the north end of Putnam Pond here, and then back to Rock Pond. I think there's a little rock pond. I'd have to look at the map. There's a lot of ponds we're going to see before we go up Treadway Mountain. Very pleasant hiking, nothing difficult, just ups and downs. No scrambling required yet. And nice open woods. You can see all there is to see as you hike today. A lot of downed paper birch that have reached the end of their life. They don't live that long. You might see one that lives 100 years, but usually it's more like 50. And the land history of this park, really this whole area of the Adirondacks, but especially this wilderness area, was heavily logged in the late 1800s. And then a lot of forest fires in the early 1900s. So the paper birch comes in after a forest fire, and so does the aspens. Been seeing a lot of big tooth aspen around here. But once they reach maturity, they don't live that long. Eventually they die, and they don't set seed in the deep shade of other trees. So your northern hardwoods and hemlock come in to replace them. All right, well, let's take a look at the north end of Putnam Pond. Eventually, if my day goes as planned, we'll be rejoining this pond at the south end. I actually parked right near the boat launch on the east side of the pond, but I didn't start recording until I got on the trail. You have to go through the campground for a while, and then the trail starts the north end of the campground. So yes, I believe this is a natural lake. There's no signs of a dam on it. And just beautiful. It's all undeveloped except for the campground itself, which is out of sight from the pond. All right, well, Rock Pond is coming into view. We're taking one of the shorter routes to Rock Pond. If you wanted to take a more roundabout way, literally, you start at the Putnam Pond campground, where I did. And when you get to Hart Pond, there's a Blue Blaze trail that goes up past Hart Pond to Bear Pond and then comes back down here. You can make a loop. I'm wanting to save time to go up Treadway Mountain, so I didn't choose that. The way we came from Putnam Pond campground was 1.2 miles less. But we're on the Red Blaze trail around Round Pond. The Yellow Blaze trail goes down the other side. I took that a few years ago, so this is all new to me at this point. And Treadway Mountain is going to be new to me as well. And let's scoot on down to the shoreline here and get a good look at this rock pond. And it'll be real obvious where that name comes from when you see the view here. All kinds of ledges on both sides, if I remember correctly. See some on the side we're taking, the northwest side. And then some smaller mountains back there. I'm going to have to check the map to see if those are Treadway Mountain or if those are knobs between us and Treadway Mountain. I think they're a little too close to be Treadway Mountain from this vantage. It's pretty to look at. And within view of the pond, the trail around the pond, are some old foundations that go up the hill in several layers here. I read there was a graphite mine back here. I don't know when, but this may have been the ruins from, you know, what was involved with that mine. I could spend some time scrambling around up here. I'm going to wait for another day because I want to keep moving, but this is a lot to see right here. I can tell this goes up a ways. And the views continue. And the remains of this mining operation keep showing up along this trail. We're not too far from that stone foundation and that large metal cylinder. And there's a really nice bridge built here. Plenty of benches to sit on. And it's not really a creek here. It's the old mine. And well, it looks like you could go back there if you were wanting to. I think I'll avoid it today. It looks pretty muddy. And what's coming out of there, oh boy. You get that color when there's iron in the rocks, and then it oxidizes and turns into this orange compound that increases the acidity of the water to the point where if there's a lot of old mines leaching, it can kill all the fish in a drainage system. The whole drainage system will get that orange color. Go out to western Pennsylvania, Red Moshannon Creek. Looks just like this. I think it's gotten a little better, but it's pretty red when I paddled down it in the 90s. And no fish. In the West Branch of the Susquehanna, in that same area, same situation. It does improve as you get down towards Williamsport, because there's streams that feed into it that aren't polluted, but there's entire streams, creeks, watersheds that are this color in western Pennsylvania from the seepage from unreclaimed coal mines. So the coal mines were never reclaimed back in the 1800s, early 1900s. They stripped the ground, took the coal, and left the overburden in piles, and as the rainfall seeps through it, you get this same process, that orange leachate. So hopefully this one doesn't create enough problems to kill the fish in this pond. I think it's got good fishing, so obviously this isn't significant enough to affect the entire pond, fortunately. But pretty amazing. All right, well, the ledges we could see earlier jutting out into Rock Pond is where I'm at now. These large pines sticking up higher than the rest of the trees on that hillside. That was a little bit of scrambling. Nothing extreme. The trail was narrow, steep on both sides. Different than what the rest of the trail has been like. So I think the other side of the pond, if I recall, wasn't any scrambling. So this is worth seeing on this side. These rock ledges, that old mine. I'm sure there's a lot of information on what exactly that, you know, when that was operating, and all those stone foundations. They kept going up the hill. I knew if I started looking there, I would have been there an hour, and I didn't want to take on that much today because I'm already got a lot planned. That would be something to come back and explore some other time. So yes, and here's the view looking the other way. What an amazing place. This is an easy half-day distance just to come back to this pond without going up Treadway Mountain. So that last video clip showed it's getting marshy at this end of Rock Pond, but we did almost 2/3 of the pond the way we went on the red trail. If we had taken the yellow trail the whole way, we would have only come 2 miles so far. I think we've done at least a mile more than that. And the red trail is beautiful, but a little overgrown in places. Good news is there's plenty of trail markers, so you won't lose the trail. The trail markers are always in view, but you do have to weave through some overgrown areas for short distances, and there's some boggy areas too. But this is a wilderness, so you can expect that. Less maintenance than well-groomed areas. So our hike started right there, the campground. Went up to Heart Pond, went off just a little bit to see it, came over here, and then stayed all the way over this way around Rock Pond. I'm guessing at least 3 miles so far. It's 1.5 miles down to the started Treadway Mountain Trail. Do that in less than an hour. And then 2.1 to the top. We can take a shortcut on the way back that would be a lot quicker. So still got plenty of daylight, plenty of time, and a lot to see. And our current location is right there. So if you come the other side of Rock Pond, I did that a few years ago. It doesn't take that long. But there's plenty to see on that backside, and it's a more remote area with plenty of nice overlooks over the pond. All right, we went up over a little rise and back down again to get to Clear Pond. The trail goes on both sides. We're on the west side on the Red Blaze Trail. And we're honing in on the trail up Treadway Mountain. That's coming up soon. I'll try to record what's there is here along this pond. It's a little hard to get close to the edge, but we'll record what we can as we go. Yeah, I think a little better lighting would make it easier to see these pitcher plants growing on the log here. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Pitcher plants grow in bogs where the conditions are acid enough. The only way they can get their nutrients is through catching insects. And that's probably what these ones are doing too. So the flowers are still visible. They come out earlier in the summer. They look like little umbrellas, and the pitcher plants themselves look like a small pitcher, P-I-T-C-H-E-R, like a pitcher you pour water from or tea from. So there's a bunch of them growing on that log there. And what a pretty pond. Clear pond, very clear, obviously. We got to keep moving. I won't spend too much more time here, but all these ponds are so pretty. This is our 4th pond today, and we'll be seeing Putnam Pond for a 2nd time on the way back. All right, from the junction of that Treadway Mountain Trail, I made note of the sign. I think it said 2.2 miles. We've done about 1/3 of that and maybe climbed 1/3 of the elevation. This is flat in places and not steep. but uphill in other places. So there's not that much elevation gain to be had here. I'm estimating we're at about 1,700 feet right now, and the top is 2,200, and we still have like a mile and a quarter to go. So it could get steep in places with ledge. There's a lot of ledge at the top, but certainly not difficult hiking. Well maintained. It looks like it gets more use than the trail on the northwest side of Rock Pond, which was beautiful, but it looked like it was seldom used. So this is a straight shot from the campground if you come around the south end of Putnam Pond to this trail. So good day hike distance for people at the campground if they come that way. So so far I've only seen 3 people today, a family and a little boy, and that's all. So we'll see if anybody else comes along. It's a weekday now. I started this trip on a weekend, but a nice day for hiking. All right, well, we've done about 2/3 of the distance and elevation gain on Treadway Mountain. Boy, is this a pretty hike, folks. Some mountains are pretty at the top, and it's a stream going up it with all the boulders and lack of dirt from just thousands of people using it. This looks like it does get some use, but it's not heavily eroded. Well marked. And yes, we're on bedrock now. The top of this mountain is pretty barren of soil. That's what I've seen on the satellite views and read on the description. So we might get some views even before we reach the summit. But nothing steep so far. This is just uphill, it's not steep. So let's see the views and see what else is up here. All right, at least for a short distance here, the red discs on the trees have been replaced by these rock herons. And we got some open ledge. We're not at the top yet. I think we still have about a half a mile left, and 300 or 400 feet of elevation. Of course, these rock herons would be buried in snow in the wintertime. They're not that big, but they're certainly helpful in locating the trail where there aren't enough large trees to attach a trail marker to. We should start getting some views as these ledges open up. Not much view right here, but it's a very pretty hike. Up until now, it's been all just hemlock and birch and maple and just nice clean woods. No evidence of recent logging, no overused trails that are just one big rock pile. It's a very pleasant hike. And everything I've done today has just been exceptional in how beautiful it is. So that only gives me more reason to come back to this Pharaoh Lakes wilderness and try some different parts of it. Alrighty, well, the ledges started, and then we're back in some spruce forest for a while. And now we're in an area that looks like it may have been burned. There's a lot of dead trees up here. And we're starting to get some views. I think the summit is back over this way. According to the trail map, I can get internet up here. I can plot my course. So I think we still have a few tenths of a mile to go. But let's see what view can be found right here. Looking south. And yes, we are looking south. There's Pharaoh Lake right there. That's a very large lake in the middle of this wilderness area with lots of campsites and lean-tos around it. And I am going to have to probably not guess this mountain right now that's in the back of it. It looks pretty tall and looks pretty steep. I'm going to have to get the compass out to try to figure that out, or get some other mountains that I recognize. Looking from this direction, it may not be easy for me to figure out, but I'll do my best. And so this is mostly a south view right now. I think we'll get some views looking other directions as the other ledges allow. Alrighty, it didn't take much more than an hour to climb this mountain. 2.1 miles, the footing was good most of the way, just a little scrambling. And really didn't have to set my hiking pole aside more than once or twice where I needed an extra hand. Well, we looked at that south view a few minutes ago. Let's climb up some of these ledges here and see what else we can see. I'm going to estimate we have a 180-degree view right here from southwest to northeast. So I think I figured out what mountain that was a few minutes ago that had the real steep side. I'm pretty sure that's Crane Mountain. Crane Mountain is a geological dome. It's steep on almost all sides. I hiked up it 2 years ago in October of 2023 and recorded that hike. It's still on this channel. Had a very good day for that. It was October, but it was just as warm as today. Summer-like weather. And there's our Pharaoh Lake. And the mountains right to the south of it are the mountains on either side of Lake George. I mentioned in a hike a couple days ago at Goose Pond, you can't see Lake George from any of the mountains except the ones right next to it because it's almost at sea level, and it's in a deep crack in the Earth's crust. It's called a graben, G-R-A-B-E-N. There's a lot of grabens in the Adirondacks. That's one of the more famous ones. Basically, that's where the Earth's crust pulled apart and the center block of it dropped down as the Earth's crust separated. So similar to rifting, the Adirondacks are actually still rising. The Earth's crust is being pushed up, and the forces are pulling the rocks apart as they rise. Okay, Taconic Mountains are a little hazy today, but I think that's the area around Mount Greylock down there. It's 3,500 feet. And then they continue basically east of Albany and east of Troy, New York. And there aren't a lot of trails back there. It's mostly privately owned. Mount Equinox is a pretty high mountain in that range. And if we get over in the Green Mountains and the areas that I've hiked in more, I can recognize the peaks. I believe that's Killington right in the center there. That's 10x zoom. That's the best I can do. The little knoll right next to it is Pico Peak. And then more of the Green Mountains as we go north. Well, between those boulders, got a ledge here with a westward and northwestward view. Got some taller pine trees below here that are going to block a little bit of the view, but I think we can get most of it. Straight ahead is Hoffman Mountain. I think it's about 3,700 feet, and there's no official trails up it. It is public land. It's a wilderness area. I'm sure there's information on the best way to get up it. And boy, just a few showers in the high peaks. I think they'll dry up by the time they get over here, but if they don't, I've got the rain gear. So just west of there, we're looking at the western high peaks and starting to get just a little instability rain shower there. And then Mount Marcy right in the middle there. I'll zoom in as far as I can. Alright, that's 10x zoom. That's Mount Marcy, 5344. And boy, I'd have to get out the map to name the rest of these peaks off, but there's a whole bunch of them over there. And Algonquin is near Mount Marcy. And from here, I'm not sure if it's the next knob over to the left, but it should be. And it's slightly lower than Mount Marcy. Okay, right in the center of your screen there, that should be Algonquin Peak. Alrighty, well, I had to take about a 45-minute hiatus from recording. 20% chance of rain between 1 and 2 p.m. is what the forecast was. And I got about 80% wet, so I beat the odds, but I did have rain gear on. Don't leave home without it. Even if there's a 0% chance of rain in the forecast, there's never a 0% chance of rain when you're in the mountains, because they make their own weather. This is like a secondary cold front coming through. We could see that when I made that last clip. I've wandered down below where that last overlook was. I've come down in elevation just a little, and there's lots of ledge back here. You can tell there's been some older campsites back here, so I didn't come straight down here because I ducked into some thicker spruce trees to stay out of the rain. Then kind of saw this from that spruce grove, so I don't know if you could do it directly from that overlook or not. I was kind of wandering around seeking shelter. I'll tell you what though, folks, if you're the adventurous type, the official trail ended a while ago. If you're the kind who doesn't mind following deer paths, or paths that people have made, or just making your own path, there's much better overlooks back here. So let's see what we got. Well, straight ahead is Pharaoh Mountain. It's about 300 feet higher than here. It has really good views from where the trail brings you to the top. This mountain had some good views. I think the best stuff is down here. So, I often say I'm looking for lesser known places to hike, and often go off the beaten path to find what I really want. So I've certainly done that today. So you got Crane Mountain right there. We're going to get a better look at Pharaoh Pond, or Pharaoh Lake right here. So that's the crown jewel of the Pharaoh Lake Wilderness. Little bit, it's a day hike if you start from a different approach. I could do it. I have to start early, just concentrating going around the lake and coming back. And the high peaks are more visible here. There's no trees obscuring the view. And the sun is back out over there. That was an instability shower. And it was in the forecast that somebody would get one. Still a little hazy, but I don't think we have the wildfire smoke we did a few weeks ago. It seems to have abated, or at least not coming in this direction as of now. Had a lot more clear weather lately. And some of the eastern high peaks. And we're going to take one last look to the south over here, and then I do need to start heading back. I'll do one last wrap-up video on the way back. Take one last look at the map. And if anything special comes along on the way back down, I'll record it. But often I run out of time to make videos. Just have to get the miles done. So yeah, this is the best view anyways, right here. There's Pharaoh Lake right there. What a beautiful lake. No development whatsoever. The pine trees on those islands. A real special place. So come enjoy this Pharaoh Lakes Wilderness. It's pretty accessible. There's many entrances to it. The terrain is gentler than a lot of the other parts of the Adirondacks. And the winters would be less severe here than west of here, but still cold. And lots of trails, lots of lean-tos, lots of campsites. It's definitely user-friendly, and plenty of places to get water. Well, today's is finishing up as nice as it started, with blue skies and cool, clean water in this Putnam Pond. This is a little shallow down at this end. We're at the south end. Lots of water lilies and pickerel weed. And the water's running a little low too, from a fairly dry summer. Sure is pretty back here though. So we got just about a half mile left. I'm going to finish the video right here because it's a real pretty spot. I've added up all the trail segments on the map, and it's 10.5 miles, and I've been in the woods about 9.5 hours total it'll be when I'm done. So I probably spent at least 3 of those hours not walking. Most of these trails you can do a full step every step you take. There isn't a lot of stuff you have to figure out, so for me that's like 2 miles an hour at a leisurely pace. When you get on stuff that's real steep, rocky, and full of boulders, I can't go that fast. One of the trails I did earlier this summer in New Hampshire, for at least a few miles, I couldn't even do a mile an hour. It was so technical. So this is a very pleasant, beautiful hike. I've done a lot of hikes for this channel. I want to put this in the top 5 because it was pretty the whole way. Everything, every mile of this trail had something beautiful to look at, and just the woods were beautiful. There was no interruption in the forest that was you know, less pleasant to walk through. Bigelow Hollow down in Connecticut is a lot like this. I said when I did that hike a few years ago that it reminded me of the Adirondacks because it was beautiful the whole way too. And that hike was almost this long too, 9-10 miles. So Pharaoh Lakes Wilderness is in the middle of this map. Folks, the Adirondacks have so much to offer. Get up here if you can. And this is 46,000 acres of land that was never really used for anything except resource extraction, mostly logging. Just wasn't suitable for farming, and so it was never really developed. Today's hike started at the Putnam Pond campground, made a clockwise loop around Putnam Pond, visiting the other ponds in the area. Excuse me, it's going to be counterclockwise. So Hart Pond, Rock Pond. I didn't go to Little Rock Pond. I was close to it. Rock Pond was amazing. Clear Pond was just as pretty. Not quite as ledgy, but beautiful. And then the trail up Treadway Mountain was beautiful woods. And the top mile was more ledgy, but there was a lot to see from those ledges. And the top had ledges that, again, you had to, you know, sniff around to find the best views. I don't mind doing that. That's part of what I do for this channel. So a great place to hike. It's going to be a long video by the time I splice it all together. The one I did at Goose Pond will be like an introductory video. I'll keep that separate. But this Pharaoh Lakes Wilderness, great place to visit. I'll be back, I'm sure, because this is the closer part of the Adirondacks for me to get to for a shorter trip. And there's so much to see here.